How's it going, everybody? I'm Andrew Robson. You're watching RAKUYO's Deciduous Bonsai channel, and in today's video I'm going to tell you why I put this exhibit quality show tree in a grow box instead of a bonsai pot, and how a grow box can help you with bonsai in any stage of development in your bonsai practice. So here's a little bit of information about the bonsai that we have here. This is a Winterberry, or an Ilex serrata. It's a deciduous holly. And I had this holly on display at the 2022 Pacific Bonsai Expo in Oakland, California. And it was a very fun tree to display at that exhibit. It was one of the few, if not only, fruiting trees in the room, and it had a full set of fruit. I mean, you could not see the twigs. This had so many red berries on it. And it was really fun to show it off in that exhibit. And it did fairly well. Out of the 17 trees in the deciduous category, this ranked number 5 out of those 17. So the judges really liked this tree, probably mostly because it had such wonderful fruit and it had that kind of X factor that, really, captured people's attention. So it was really fun to show off at the expo because you don't see many Ilex serratas or Japanese Winterberries around in this country. This tree came from Joe Harris, who imported it through Isley Nursery somewhere around the 2000s. It lived with a local artist here in Portland, and I purchased this tree about 6 or 7 years ago. When I purchased this tree, many of the trunks were starting to die. This main trunk here was under threat of being about to die. And so we really did a lot to rejuvenate this tree and kind of rebuild it to the beautiful plant that it always was. And that was a lot of fun. And so showing it off at the Pacific Bonsai Expo in 2022 was a way to really celebrate, the recovery of this tree and kind of building out a nice full design. And so now, after the show, I brought it home, and the very next repotting season, I threw it in a wooden grow box. And there's a few reasons that I did this. Number one, I noticed that the tree was starting to get weak, meaning the extensions that I was getting every year were getting less and less. And so before acting, once it started to lose branches, I made the preemptive decision to put it in a grow box, get it strong and healthy so that I don't put the bonsai at risk of, losing any branches or even worse, trunks. And so after the exhibit, we came home, we got through winter, and we threw it right into a grow box. And again, the number one reason was health. Old deciduous plants, especially shrubs, have sustainability issues. And so this tree, to keep it alive, to keep it thriving, giving it a grow box every few years really helps to reinvigorate it. There's a few reasons why a box does that. A box reinvigorates a bonsai because, number one, you might just have more volume than a bonsai pot allows you to have. And it allowed me to, just do a box that was about 15-20% larger than the size of the pot, so that, again, I get 15-20% more roots, which really help to reinvigorate the tree. Boxes also dry out more quickly. Now, the volume doesn't make it dry out more quickly. In fact, the volume might, lessen its water needs. But a box is much more porous, and so it has a bonsai in a box has a faster wet-dry cycle, meaning this is going to dry out faster. I'm able to water it, and then it can rehydrate, and you can repeat that process over and over again. And when you have a fast wet-dry cycle, that really improves vigor in a bonsai. And so I noticed this tree was getting weak. I decided to act ahead of time before I started seeing any twig or branch or trunk loss, and we threw it in the box to just help reinvigorate it. And that was the main reason why this went into a grow box. But there was a second reason. And if this tree was perfectly healthy, perfectly strong, it would have made its way into a grow box anyway because of this second reason. And that is that I wasn't happy with how it was when I exhibited it. I was like 90% happy, meaning when it was in the expo, I thought it was a good tree, but it, for me, didn't rise to the level of greatness. And there were a few more things that I wanted to do to it. If you look at this tree in your Pacific Bonsai Expo catalog, you'll notice that there's a few things that could be improved on this bonsai. Number one, I had a huge gap here in the center of the clump. And, you know, a huge gap where you just see this skinny main trunk and there's no branches coming off of it. And so I really wanted to fix this big hole here, which is kind of void of twigs and void of branching. And so one of the ways that we're going to do that is with thread grafting. I have this whip here that I'm going to use to put on a thread graft to that main trunk to add a branch to this main trunk. And so that this main trunk now can get more dense, it can get more refined, and I don't have to rely on it just having a couple branches, which is kind of scary. So we want to add some branches, some twigging to this main trunk that this clump style bonsai has. Another thing I wanted to do was really expand some of the lower twigging and branching. This area here and the area in the back was void of small twigs. And so this tree had wonderful twigginess up above, but I want to expand that twigginess down here all around, you know, the bottom and the back portion of the tree for a couple of reasons. One, so it has better depth, and two, so it celebrates the fact that this is really more of a shrub. And with shrubs, we expect it to have a lot of dense, low branching. So those are the two improvements that I really wanted to make after showing it off in the exhibit. Now, whenever you show a tree, it's a great opportunity to then think about improvements. Bring it home, put it in a box, and try and imagine what you can do to make the bonsai better. After a show, it's a great opportunity because it was probably photographed. You got to celebrate where it was at that place and time, and now is the time to make it better before you show it off again. And so those are the two reasons that I put it in a grow box. One, to improve its health. Old deciduous plants are not very sustainable, especially shrubs. And so giving them a break or a year off in a grow box can really help reinvigorate them. And two, to help further this tree's development so that it's not 90% where I want it to be. I can try and get closer to 95% or 100%. And a box is just going to allow me to do that quite faster. So if you enjoyed this video, hit like at the bottom of your screen, subscribe to our channel so we can keep you up to date with all of this deciduous content moving forward. If you have a deciduous bonsai that's weak or you want to further its development, a grow box is a great way to help you.